That's our Raccoon City hospitality.
What is going on, all you ghosts and ghouls? Woo! I can't believe we have made it to the end of our series on Resident Evil. Guys, how do you feel about us getting to the end of this this whole saga? Will, kick us off.
Well, it's been a hell of an experience, and I'm again grateful for the opportunity. I'm both glad and a little sad that we're coming to the end of it, also because it means we're starting to run out of Resident Evil games to gush about, but it's been a fun ride.
Well, there's going to be no shortage of them today, I promise you that. I'm not even going to say the number of games we're covering today, because I'm worried the listeners might tune out if they realize how many we got to get through before we hit Requiem, but today is Requiem. Tony, how do you feel about us wrapping up and getting through this journey here together?
Definitely similar, mixed. It's been a really fun ride. I've been looking forward to all of our chats. I think we definitely could have spread it out and gone deeper, but we've gotten a pretty good spread and condensed it pretty well, I think, and making them Jill sandwiches.
Yeah, we're just making them sandwiches. Since we do have a lot to get to, I suppose we'll just get to it. Now, in our first part, we actually touched upon a couple of the titles I'm going to mention here. A lot of these, we're not going to have a lot to say much about. Some of them we're going to have more to say about. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run through every spinoff that I could get on this list. And for those diehard fans, no, I'm not going to be covering the pinball and pachinko machines as much as I'd like some in my garage. But we're going to start with Code Veronica in the year 2000 on the Dreamcast, starring Claire Redfield, with Code Veronica X, an updated version with new cutscenes and expanded characters, releasing in 2001 for the PlayStation 2. Now, if you listen to our first part, we said plenty about Code Veronica, but since this is our last chance to talk about it, is there anything you guys want to revisit on this one, especially with the upcoming remake?
Definitely. Personally, Code Veronica was actually the first Resident Evil game I got to play myself, and I later found out that it's actually widely considered the hardest Resident Evil game due to resource scarcity and how freaking easy it is to get lost. It was also the first Resident Evil game I played, and the first game in general, where I found out that if you have to examine the items you find from multiple sides to open boxes and find hidden objects.
A classic part of Resident Evil, and it's something we all need to learn sometime. I'm really looking forward to the remake of this one. I'll be honest. If they do half as good a job as they did with the remakes of 2 and 4, 3's around 2, but I think it'll be incredible. Tony, do you have any other thoughts on Code Veronica?
Yeah, we did go over a lot. I kind of got a crash course refresher because a streamer that I like watching that does a lot of speedruns did a bit of a speedrun marathon thing, and Code Veronica popped up on his little wheel of games, and just getting that kind of crash course and watching and remembering how much bullshit there is in this game. I love it.
Tell us about some of the bullshit.
Well, one of his runs got killed by the first phase of the final boss with Chris when she's spitting the acid. He literally killed her as she spit acid, and it counted as a game. It got him game over. And then just seeing the flying first person shooting shit that you have to do that's not normal for the game and not.
I never got to that point. Well. I definitely never beat Code Veronica.
It's a good one, but yeah, there's just, and then Monster Steve, that little chunk, if you slip at all, game over.
I'm sorry. I'm writing down Monster Steve for our set list. I forgot we're in a
band.
Yeah.
But yeah. And I love it. And there's a lot of fun, silly things in it. And I too look forward to the eventual remake.
Do you guys remember what our band name is? I do.
No.
It's Soft Lock. That's the name of our band.
Yeah.
Which is appropriate for Code Veronica. So one other thing while I was doing my research here for this episode is there's a villain in Code Veronica called Alexia Ashford, and I got confused and started researching how she's related to our protagonist in Requiem, but then I realized that Grace's last name is Ashcroft. not Ashford. And so that was a waste of time.
Actually, I know who Grace is related to. She's a character in the Outbreak games named Alessa Ashcroft.
Oh, we meet Alyssa in Requiem, but wait, I can't tell you about how that plays out because you haven't played Requiem yet.
Well, you just gave away something that I was very much hoping. Alyssa is still alive.
Well, I can't. I'm
what?
not saying anything. You need to just play.
You'll have to find out.
You need to play Requiem, but we're going to talk about Alyssa, and when we get to Outbreak, we're going to talk about Grace when we get to Requiem. So yeah, we're really looking forward to the remake of Code Veronica. It's a classic title. Any diehard Resident Evil fan who's explored the backlog at this point, if you didn't grow up with them, you definitely have to try it. I'm sure that there's plenty of dudes out there that are like, what? It was so easy. Which is like dudes who are like, what? Dark Souls 3 is like so easy. Like, whatever.
I often wonder, like, a lot of games, especially games like RE and whatnot, or famously like hard games, not combat hard, but, like mechanically, like, just weird. I wonder how many of those people use guides and then go, yeah, it was easy. I just, I
ran past the you're supposed to run past these zombies. I did that so easy.
No shame to people that play with guides.
I don't know why
do
this is the impression of this guy who has an opinion. Anyone with an opinion sounds like this to me, even though that's like the whole point of my show is to have an opinion. But
I don't care if people play on easy, use guides, whatever. Just don't brag like you're good if you did, Like,
exactly.
The hardest part of Code Veronica is not getting lost. Lost is incredibly easy on that dumpster fire of an island.
Oh, just
the resource management is definitely up there, especially because there's some bosses that if you don't have the right ammo, you're just fucked.
Did you hear that? It kind of sounds like they're going in a Tomb Raider direction, where it's like a semi-open world for Code Veronica on the island.
No, I haven't heard. I don't know. I'm very mixed. I love leaks and rumors to some extent, but then I'm like,
you can't
because
trust
people get
everything
mad
you hear.
when people get mad when it's not the leak that they wanted, and I'm like, okay, I'm sure it's in the works. It's a very popular game. It's a high demand. They're not Capcom's not dumb. They've been knocking it out of the park the last handful of years. Like.
Maybe before we move on the rest of this list, let's just give a little love to Capcom here, because right now we just finished Requiem. It's approaching 10 million sales probably. In no time it's going to achieve that. They also recently released this game called Pragmata. I'd never heard of until it released, and then everyone said was amazing, and I couldn't resist it. Got my hands on it, and it's taking me away from my responsibilities on this podcast. It's so good. I'm a big fighting game fan. Street Fighter 6 is still a huge deal right now. That RE engine that they use for all three of the games I just mentioned, this thing is no joke, man. Their system looks incredible. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
They used the RE engine to make Devil May Cry 5, and that was the cleanest playing DMC ever.
Oh, Devil May Cry 5 was so cool. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would encourage anyone to see even just the recent trailer for Ingrid in Street Fighter 6. The facial animations, the movements, they look so incredible. If anybody cares, I'm an Alex main. And what they did for him with his grappling and the animations that they gave him are just unbelievable. So, and I grew up loving Capcom. I think the first game I ever really fell in love with was Mega Man X on a Windows 95 in my mom's living room on Kodiak Island. And I've just been in love with them ever since. So
I am still waiting on Breath of Fire revival and Dino Crisis revival.
Oh.
Those are the two that I'm big. I know that they're on a trek of reviving their other IPs and stuff, and we have a new second Okami, a new Onimusha, and I can be patient, but I'm waiting.
I forgot that that there's a new Okami coming out. That's so exciting. That game is so cool.
Oh man, and Onimusha kind of getting a soft reboot.
Oh, Onimusha was a big deal for me growing up on the PS2. I played every Onimusha, and I was always a big film buff. And so, I was probably the only, whatever it was, 13 or 14-year-old in the world that when they put out that poster for Onimusha 3 coming up, that I was like, oh my God, that's Jean Reno.
I didn't know his name. But I was like, it's Leon. Leon the Professional.
It's Leon the Professional. No,
He's the
Onimusha.
guy from Godzilla.
Okay, guys, we're gonna come back here for an Onimusha episode when they announce that remake and when they're coming up on it. I think we have to. Let's just talk about Onimusha for a second. Will, do you have any experience?
I've actually never played Onimusha, though I've heard interesting things about it over the years.
1 and 2 have been remastered, and they perform really well.
They do.
Cool.
They do.
The new Onimusha comes out this fall. I don't think it has a hard release date, but yeah. I'm definitely down to nerd out about Onimusha. The only one I haven't played is 4, but I do have it. I didn't play the arena battle or the tactics game either, but I know of them.
Regardless, we have a Resident Evil episode to do now, but Onimusha rules. This might be... Now, there are 2 on my list here. Well, potentially 3, but one of them I don't really count as a full game. That are on my list for most forgotten or forgettable Resident Evil titles, and this one might be number 1, and that is Resident Evil Survivor, released in 2000. It is a light gun style game for the PS1. The problem for it, at least over here, I don't know how it was received in the rest of the world, but in North America, it was supposed to be primarily played with and be compatible with the Gun Con. Unfortunately, this was made post-Columbine, so the Gun Con was not allowed. It just wasn't a thing, really, and Resident Evil took it out completely for the North American release, which meant you had to use the PS1 controller like a gun you could wave around the screen, making it almost completely unplayable. It also features, maybe for my money, the most forgettable Resident Evil antagonist or protagonist ever. I said that before, but then I did research for this episode, and I take back everything I said about Sherry and them earlier. Ark Thompson. You guys remember Ark Thompson? And you guys have any thoughts on Resident Evil Survivor before I keep jawing on?
For me, like, it's a game that I've never gotten to play personally, but I've gotten to live vicariously through seeing other people like stream speedruns of it, or originally when I was a kid reading the guide that came in one of the gaming magazines that I got. I was like, oh, this looks sweet. And that was my experience.
Yeah, I remember I used to go to GameSpot back in the early days of the internet. Back then, you could just type videogames.com, www.videogames.com into your web browser, and it would take you right to GameSpot. And I used to go there like every day. And I remember the first time, so they give a score and then have a word next to it, like incredible or mediocre or whatever. And the first time I ever saw the word abysmal talking about a video game was Resident Evil Survivor. So when I saw Resident Evil like a 1.0 and the word abysmal, I was like, okay. And I just remember reading about this and being fascinated and being like, well, I actually want to try this. It sounds so bad. But, I was a child with no income, especially not to waste on a game that I heard was terrible.
There's a novelty to trying something that's considered so terrible it is just unacceptable, because once in a while, something will get universally panned, but you just might be the 1%er that loves it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got some movies like that, for me personally.
I spent a very long time in the Silent Hill episode talking about how much I loved the movie when it came out, and everybody else hated it.
Yeah, and then I like the movie now. It held up so much better than when I first saw it. So you never know with these things.
It is the best of the 3 movies.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I still haven't seen that latest one, but I've not heard good things.
I was gonna say, as far as like jumping in on bad games and stuff and enjoying them, I recently played EOE, which is Eve of Extinction.
Oh, I had
EOE, Eve of Extinction.
I had EOE back in the day. That is a call back.
It's a weird beat 'em up platform-y game, and it's super clunky. Like, it has a lot of fun. There's a lot of like good bones there, but it's just like they did not know how to make it happen on the PS2.
I think they were chasing that Minority Report vibe. That was a big deal back then.
It is, it's a lot of fun, but like in a bad B movie kind of way.
Just a quick thing on the Gun Con. Did any of us have that?
No.
I wish. That would have been so fun to play Time Crisis at home with that thing, but nah.
I did have the light gun on the, what was that? An SNES while I was playing Duck Hunt?
That was the original NES. That was just NES.
Yeah. I had the light gun on the NES.
Yeah, everybody had that.
I always liked light gun. I thought they were cool and utilized. and now the tech is dead with modern TVs.
Oh, that's right. It was the CRT TV of it all that made it possible without
Yeah,
like having
the
to hook
light.
up like a whole radar register thing. That's fair.
Yep.
But now we've got things like the Wii.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're gonna get to some good light gun Wii titles that are generally well remembered and well liked here in a little bit. But moving off of Survivor, universally panned, let's talk about one that I think we can all agree is pretty great. This is the first Resident Evil remake, released in 2002 for the GameCube. One of the most gorgeous games ever released on that system, in my opinion. It was the original game, but with renewed graphics and, of course, voice acting, done environments, fully new lighting. They knock it out of the park, and it introduces new systems that are still around today, like being able to use an item to defend yourself if you get grabbed by a zombie. There was daggers in Resident Evil 1 Remake, where you could stab them and get away. But they also introduced the zombies turning into what they called Crimson Heads, yes. And you would have to destroy the zombie's head or burn their body, or after an undetermined amount of time in the in-game clock, they would turn into what are known as Crimson Heads. And the longer they're around, the stronger and the faster they get, which it really added to the tension and the fear of the whole thing. So, thoughts on the Resident Evil remake? I've talked long enough.
I haven't finished the Resident Evil remake yet. I started the playthrough and haven't gotten all the way in, but I do remember playing it a bit back in the day. And I remember one thing that they added was Lisa, a tragic character, which I haven't fully explored, but apparently she was one of the early test subjects of the viruses they were developing. And as for the Crimson Heads themselves, they felt like a very serious nuisance, and it added a new level of strategy to the gas cans and body burning elements. And with them in play, if they showed up, then not only were they dangerous, but it was just another resource sink. So they definitely changed the game quite a bit and made those headshots more about relief than satisfaction.
Absolutely. Tony, have you had much experience with the RE1 remake?
Yeah. So I don't think I've ever actually beaten the original. I played the original a lot, but I don't know if I've ever
gotten
actually
so close,
beaten
but
it.
I've never hit credits.
But I have done it on remake, and it just feels like it's what the director wanted to do, and I love the extra little add-ons, and it just a little bit smoother. Like there's a lot of charm in the original, but I just love the remake. It's one of the best game remakes. The Crimson Heads are terrifying. I still think Hunters are a little bit scarier because they have that insta-kill jump attack.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's a beautiful remake, and all the additions were great and good framework for them to build off for the other remakes that we'll talk about later.
I have this one memory where I was at my local game store. It's called Microplay. Glad I got a chance to shout them out. I used to go there like every day on my bike as a kid. I'm sure they were sick of having me around, but I wasn't that self-aware at the time. They were displaying the Resident Evil remake. It was playable at their counter. Some guy went up to play it, and he just stood there, and you're just standing in that dining room, and then it's time to move, and it's time to go. And he just stood there watching it because he thought it was still a cutscene, and he's just watching it and watching it. And I was like, you can actually move that character. And they were like, oh, really? And he did. And he's like, whoa, this looks great. Yep, Resident Evil Remake rules. Get to it if you get to it. Since we're still on the GameCube, let's move on to our next title here, which we talked about at pretty good length in our part 1, and that is Resident Evil 0, released 2002 for the GameCube. Stars Rebecca and Billy, includes the split inventory and switchable perspectives on the characters. One I still have a physical copy of, and I remembered really enjoying, but I never really got far because I got lost and then it got difficult. But I always remembered it fondly, but that's about... I'm not huge about the slug monster aspect of it all. I do enjoy the wild singing opera train riding guy. That just seems like peak Resident Evil silliness to me. Any final thoughts on 0?
Well, George, just to toss this one out at you, it's revealed toward the end of the game. That that's not actually just some random guy. That's actually Dr. Marcus, developer of the original genetic virus called Progenitor. And the siren singing was used to control leeches. As far as Resident Evil 0
leeches,
goes,
not slugs. My bad.
all good. Well, the interesting thing that Resident Evil Zero brought to the table was it was kind of the first taste we got of like genuine co-op gameplay. The other games had us playing as dual protagonists in separate campaigns, but this was an interesting change on that. And the character switching, the different aspects, finding the limitations of one character and the strengths of the other, and just kind of making a coin flip on a part where you had to separate them and send them on to different tasks. That was an interesting setup, and I really do hope they remake that one as well, maybe even as a co-op game, which would be a blast.
You know, you actually pointed something out to me. We were texting about Zero, and I had never considered what you did when they were together, and I think it's really smart, is that you used Rebecca as, like, your healer and Billy as your tank, and you kept all the weapons and ammo with Billy and all the medical supplies and stuff with Rebecca, and I never thought about doing that, and I just thought that was a really smart way to go about it, and I'm sure tons of people figured that out besides me, but I would just fit everything I picked up with everybody in any way I could and just get overwhelmed and have to go store stuff, and I screwed it up bad, man.
The best way to handle those two is definitely to lightly equip Rebecca so she can protect herself. But yeah, Billy's the battering ram. You send him in when you need things to be either out of your way or dead.
Do you know if there's a difference in, like, their health or damage output?
Billy, his damage output is of course dependent on his weapons.
Well,
but
I mean,
does
there, like, if they have a different weapon, does Billy do more damage with it than Rebecca, or?
As far as I'm aware, no, since they both had
Okay.
kind of the same level of military-grade weapons training. I think Billy was able to do more damage with a melee weapon like the knife.
That makes
but
sense.
I do know that he could take maybe twice as much damage as Rebecca could before dying.
I didn't know that. That makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. Tony, any final thoughts on Zero here?
I have a pretty limited experience with it. I played it before I owned it, and I really liked it. Now I own it, and I just haven't gotten around to really diving in. I know a lot of people don't like the inventory management. I think it's an interesting change. It was a good attempt on like a semi spin-off numbered title, however you want to define it. But
Since it's a numbered title, it's considered a prequel.
For official numbered titles, Zero and Code Veronica do make the list. I feel like there's one more, but I could be wrong. But I know that Zero and Code Veronica at least make the list on official numbered titles for the series.
I know the Revelation games are canon too.
And one more thing yeah, that is good to know. One more thing to toss out there, just to keep in mind, just as a reminder to everybody, rather. Rebecca is the medical officer for the Stars Alpha team, I want to say, and a recurring psych partner character in Resident Evil 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Billy has not returned since. So
yeah, Rebecca.
We don't know.
Rebecca is the one who plays the piano in Resident Evil 1.
And saves Chris's butt from that plant monster.
Yeah. I was really hoping we'd see her come back without spoiling anything, and we're going to be good about spoilers for Requiem, but there are a lot of callbacks to the series history as it is a Requiem of the series in a way, and I was really hoping Rebecca would show up, but alas. We'll hopefully get her soon. Speaking of Requiem and the Grace Ashcroft of it all, I know you're really excited to talk about this one. In 2003, we get Outbreak for the PS2. Now, I have no experience with this. I'm aware of what it is. It is a co-op focused, co-op required, essentially, 4-player game. But you know what? Actually, just tell us about Outbreak. You're the expert here.
Okay, just refresh me on the release year.
2003?
Gracing the PS2 in 2003, we were granted the underrated wonder that was Resident Evil Outbreak. And I say it that way because that's how it's presented on the title screen. Resident Evil Outbreak, and this is a very hot take, I'm sure, but I honestly think the Outbreak series would do great as a series of live service games, a la the Hitman
We said that in part 1. I think it's a great idea, actually.
Well, the way it worked was, we were introduced to 8 survivors spending the evening at a bar in Raccoon City, and in the background, we already hear the outbreak's begun and is starting to spread. We hear that there was a news report where a violent incident occurred at, I think it was a football or baseball game at the local sports arena, and while everyone's sitting around, depending on the character you pick, you get a close-up of one of the 8 characters. Personally, my favorite was David King, a self-employed plumber and native of Raccoon City, a reticent but not unfriendly man, simply sitting down after a hard day's work enjoying a glass of scotch. However, when he looks over his shoulder at the new guy that steps in through the bar, it's a man who appears to be having some issues. And those issues appear to be the munchies as he lunges at the busboy and takes a bite out of his neck. He gets shoved out the door, and then we see several other walking corpses slammed up against the outside window, and that's where the nightmare begins. Everybody has different reactions depending on perspective, but this is the beginning of the first scenario, which is the bar and streets of Resident Evil Outbreak. And as you move throughout the game, you have to do all the classics. Search areas for clues and resources, scavenge for weapons, and one of the more interesting aspects of David's character in particular, find supplies such as a broom handle or a kitchen knife, and tape them together with its toolbox to make a spear. All of the characters had unique elements to them, including the ability to take headshots at any time, starting gear like weapons or a folding knife, and some of them had unique interactions with the environment, including already knowing where everything is, such as Cindy the bartender, who worked there and knew the map by heart, whereas other characters, you had to discover the map's layout as you moved along. There are a total of 5 scenarios per game, with the first game unlocking them as you complete each one, including the bar, a burning hotel or apartment complex, I forget which, Raccoon City University, the infamous underground laboratory, and probably the most terrifying thing in the world, regardless of a zombie outbreak, a hospital.
That's really cool. I never got to try Outbreak. I'm well aware of what it is, and I actually own the first one physically, but I never played it because I never had anyone to play with. Tony, do you have any experience with Outbreak?
Yeah, I played multiplayer somewhat recently too. I played it when it came out. I'll feed you, baby bird.
You'll get
Don't
there.
worry.
Sorry, I'll let you go. Okay.
So yeah, when it came out, I remember being super hyped for it, but then online gaming wasn't as prevalent. It was a newer thing for consoles, and
I never had it for PS2.
Yeah, I didn't have internet at home, but a friend had internet on his PS2, and he got the copy, and we played it a little bit, and it was hard as balls, so we didn't play very much. And
Outbreak
then
was not an easy game.
So
Yeah.
it was not easy. I didn't know that. That makes sense.
yeah, I returned to it as an adult in the last couple of years during my streaming time, and played with some friends. The Japanese servers still exist, so if you can find a way through emulation or free McBoot on your PS2, you can play a Japanese copy.
That's wild.
And it's in English still, so you can play the game online with people. The problem is, to unlock levels, you have to beat it offline.
Really?
So when you beat them, it only lets you play the first 2 levels if you don't have a file that has the other levels unlocked.
That sounds like bad design.
Yeah, it definitely had its flaws, but it works for both the games. It's an interesting experience, and I do agree a remake would be great. The one argument I've heard against it is just think about how online gaming culture now, somebody's going to be mad that you got the character they wanted and grief you and make it miserable if you play with randos.
That's why you have a backup and a backup for your backup. And honestly,
Yeah.
I played the first level of the Outbreak games as every single character just to get a feel for them.
Yeah.
And
I need to try this thing. I really do. I've always meant to, and it's in my garage right now, and my PS2's plugged in. I might just go do that.
Dude, you gotta, man.
Well, Will,
As a
get
matter of
over
fact,
here.
I'm
Come
gonna
help
take
me out.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to take another crack at this. The characters you play as were Kevin, a Raccoon City police officer who actually failed the STARS exam, David, an aging security guard that can swing a bat like frickin' Mark McGuire. We also have Jim, a Subway.
Speaking of 2003,
employee.
Mark McGuire. Sorry, please continue.
Where was yes.
yeah.
We also have we have Yoko, the university student, whose special element is arguably one of the most useful. She has a freaking backpack, so instead of 4 inventory slots, she has 8. We also get Cindy, a bartender by trade, and I think her only special skill was she had an herb case, not that kind, where she could carry additional medical
Yeah,
supplies.
that's what they call it. Yeah.
We also had David, the plumber, whose unique skill was he carried a toolbox with him at all times, which included tape, an unrenewable resource that was the wrench throw that had a high chance of staggering and knocking over standard enemies. Oh. We also had George, the doctor, and he was an interesting one. The medicinal
Most
items
Georges
you could
are.
mix. Bias much?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about him was, as he mixed medicines with the herbs, he was actually able to create genuine medicine by refining it with his chemistry set that he kept on him, and you were able to get much more powerful effects out of them. I think I covered everybody that time.
You didn't mention Alyssa and what she does, and she's really important to this story.
Yes, thank you. She's actually able, the other character that's able to take pot shots is the ability skill, but really it's just line up a shot and pop the zombie in the head, which makes her the best bet to give a pistol aside from Kevin, and she was the only one who carried the set of lockpicks, which allowed access to a whole plethora of resources, arguably making her an essential for any multiplayer team. Oh, and one last thing about multiplayer. Here's a weird one. You could play the game alone with AI allies, and you had two by default, but later on, you could unlock two abilities that altered the way the multiplayer flowed, including fourth member, which obviously added a fourth slot, so you had an additional survivor in every scenario, which A, was someone else to babysit, or B, an extra asset, depending on how you look at it. Or you can play on lone wolf mode, which meant all the resources go to you, but you also have to do everything yourself. And especially in the university scenario where you have to find the ingredients for the actual cure to the T-virus called Daylight, that's a risky proposition.
Let's talk about Alyssa just for a second here. Tony, what a wild character to bring back to be so important for Requiem here.
Oh yeah. Well, it was a genius marketing move because it's like you take this somewhat obscure game that's been locked on the PS2 for a couple decades now, and then you're like spark interest in that again, as well as like pulling like deep lore, so that sparks a bunch of interest in Requiem just out of the gate without showing really much. Just like, oh, what else is going to be in there?
Yeah,
we know we're going.
I recognized Alicia Ashcroft's name pop out as soon as I heard it. I almost lost my mind.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
Same. It did make me go, oh, are they going to release like a new Outbreak before, like a remake
before
or
Requiem
reboot of something before?
Yeah, to build hype or something.
But no, we didn't get that lucky.
It's a clever way to test the waters.
Yeah, I'd build that to, see the market interest. But yeah, I know a lot of people jumped on and started playing the Outbreak games leading up to Requiem.
What might be kind of cool is, so at the time of this, you know what? Actually, let's save it for Requiem. I'm going to make a note on that for Requiem. Let's see. I'm going to cut this part out.
George, I assume this is going to be cut out. I did want to remind you, Outbreak has a second game.
No. Yeah, I'm getting to it.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Don't worry. Well, I think we we better soldier on here because I don't know if it's more of the same. I have no idea. I haven't tried these yet, and I definitely have not played this one. This is Outbreak File Number 2, released the following year in 2004. And also, real quick, I used to say the name of the directors and the publishers for each of these, but we all have lives to live, so I'm going to do that for Requiem, but we're just moving on, and we're just going to, this is for the PS2. I'll say the system, the year, and the title, and hopefully that'll be good. Will, tell me about Outbreak 2.
Hold that thought. Let's see. Obviously edit this out. Well, George, I'm going to come here and be your savior on this one, since these were my favorite Resident Evil PS2 era games. Ichiro Sasaki was apparently the director of both Resident Evil Outbreak games.
Well, excellent.
Resident Evil Outbreak File 2 was basically more of the same with a few seamless improvements, although a couple of voice actors were apparently replaced for whatever reason, but like you said, they've got lives to live. Outbreak 2 had a couple of adjustments and a couple of little secrets for fans of the series. First, you could actually transfer data from between the two games to get your unlockables back, but if you transferred data from Outbreak File 2 to 1, everything in the item shop was unlocked, including the harder modes, the alternate outfits, and that's included cool. Everything from
Why did the first game
costumes.
have an option to even transfer data?
Because there's an item store in the background that you can use to get alternate outfits, unique perks, even straight up cheat codes. I think unlimited handgun ammunition was one of them.
Oh, probably if you change to a different system or something, you could upload your data from the... Okay, that makes sense. All right.
Oh, no. The item store progressed and unlocked from... Oh, no. The item shop in the original game and the second one had a lot of overlap. So, if you were the diehard that played Resident Evil Outbreak to the point where you got everything unlocked, then you could transfer all the unlockables you had from that one to the second game without having to start from scratch. But it only tracked the progress you made, so you couldn't unlock a whole bunch of goodies by transferring the data from 2 to 1 and then back. At least I never thought to try it. But generally speaking, Outbreak 2 understood that the returning players were going to be a little impatient, most likely. So you started out with 4 scenarios unlocked, which for me was a bit of a disappointment because I like that feeling of progression. The first scenario took you to an absolutely horrifying place, the Raccoon City Zoo. Now, consider this. The T-Virus affects animals. Yeah. The first one, I believe, was called Titan or Atlas. I can't remember which. One of those grandiose names. It was a freaking zombie elephant chasing you around, stomping your ass.
I've had that nightmare.
It was like Dino Crisis, but worse in its own way.
Pachyderm
And
Crisis.
of course, there was also the zombie lion. Oof.
That was the mascot of my high school.
Oh, yours too?
Yeah.
The other scenarios included being lost in the woods, the Arklay Mountains specifically, where you encountered the site of the original grisly murders, which Leon mentions in Resident Evil 4. And the other scenarios escape me at the moment, but after you completed a lot of them, you unlocked another area that is arguably even more horrifying than the zoo, an Umbrella Corp research facility. And that's where our side characters you play as meet the tyrant, Mr. X.
Hell yeah. God, I want to spoil stuff for you, Will. I really do. So in Outbreak File 2, do we have, and we don't need to go through everyone who's in the cast, but is it the same cast, or do we have a new cast of characters? Or actually, first, Will, what is your experience with this game? Or Tony, what is your experience with this game?
I own it.
Have you played it at all?
No, I haven't played 2 really.
Yeah.
It's been on my list of games to check out. Like the friends that I was playing them with, like we just never got around to unlocking the rest of the levels in the first one.
Right.
And then never moved on to the second one.
That makes sense.
Yeah, then we've all been too busy.
Did like Alyssa return? For some reason, I like the sound of this plumber guy. Is he back?
Yes, all of the characters return, and they have a few seamless improvements. For instance, they all start with an additional item to their name instead of just their
ability.
They have an exclusive item that they all carry, and then there's the supporting item that goes with it. For instance, Kevin carries a handgun, and he carries a spare mag of ammunition, so he's got a total of 14 45 caliber rounds.
When he
they're
starts.
really hard to find, but they're really potent. Yes, and I can't recall what David's secondary item was. I don't think it was just the lighter this time, but there was a toolbox. And a couple of other improvements were you could aim, shoot, and move all at once, unlike the first game where you were fixed in place. And
being able to move and shoot at the same time in those
in the old days.
In the old days, that's a big deal. I mean, you don't even get that in Resident Evil 5.
They still had the fixed camera perspective, but yeah, that was a big help and an improvement for the time. I don't think you even had accuracy fall off. Oh, and as you said, George, the biggest issue with the game was definitely that you did have something of a timer going, because when you start the game, you're already infected, and lore nerds will understand that the T-Virus and its accompaniments are airborne pathogens, so it was already in your system. Now, an interesting mechanic is you could find things, just about any healing item would stop the virus's spread for a few seconds. You could find antivirus that would halt its progression for, I think a potent antivirus would stop the virus's progression in your body for 5 minutes, which was a big boon considering a scenario could last over an hour. And there was the unique mechanic where when you got to the end of the first game and created the daylight vaccine, after you put it in the centrifuge, the ingredients would mix and it would produce a vial of vaccine every 30 to 45 seconds. Maybe it took a full minute. I'm not sure.
I think it's important you get the exact time right. I think that really matters.
Yeah. Well, once the vial was completed, it was automatically filled. Then you could take it, inject yourself, and the virus's progress was eliminated. It was all gone. Even if you were at 99.9% infectivity, once you injected yourself, you were clean. So I made it a point to give everybody in my group a vial the first time, and then I took an extra one thinking, I should keep this for a sample. And then later I found out at the end of the game where you face the final boss, which is arguably scarier than Mr. X, Thanatos, an 8-foot-tall monster with the terrifying ability to run, has a giant protruding heart from his chest, and massive claws.
Oh god, I gotta say, in these games, when they make bosses and stuff who can run, that's like that always gets me. It's always terrifying to me. I like a lumberer. I need a lumberer.
Well, we gave him a bit of a surprise for all the grief he gave us. We dropped a freaking exploding college building on his head,
Yeah.
and all that did
Like
was
you
piss him
do.
off.
Like you do.
He came. Yeah, he came back 10 feet tall, 6 feet wide, and missing an arm, but the other one made up the difference.
So
We injected his ass with the cure, and he just melted. You ever wonder what would happen if you gave a BOW the cure to the T-virus? Let's just say you need a mop afterward and not much else.
yeah. I wanted to say that this kind of seems, the Outbreak series kind of seems like the realization of what they were going for with the original Sweet Home. Tony, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's the kind of like comparison where the characters connect and like
They
you
all
to
have their own ability and
move the
items.
items between. It's like a mix of that and Zero. Zero also has that similar.
Oh, fair
like,
enough.
You have the limited item space and people have to carry the items. Yeah.
That makes sense.
You definitely want to designate roles to each person, like the fighter, the medic, etc. And
Yeah.
there were a lot of weapons to choose from, but on the higher difficulties, I believe you usually ended up with 3 or 4 guns at most, and other people ended up as a backup. The good thing to point out, though, for what you were saying about like group conflict as opposed to who would pick what character, yes, David was probably the most popular, but as far as use goes, I'd definitely say a good team would be Alyssa as an essential, depending on the area you're in, so she could unlock doors and lockers. There's also David's utility with his toolbox, but that could be a take or leave kind of thing, all considered. And you probably want, well, Alyssa could overlap this, but you probably also want Kevin for his sniping ability. And I'd say either go with Cindy or George for the medical resources.
Yeah, don't go with George for
sure.
his money. He doesn't. Oh, you meant him. So we're not even close to done, so we should probably get this train rolling. So I mentioned earlier that Resident Evil Survivor might be the least known title in the franchise history, but here comes a possible contender, and that is Dead Aim for the PS2, released 2003, which also is in contest with the least known protagonist in Resident Evil history, and that is Bruce McGivern. Right? We all remember Bruce McGivern. It mixes third and first person elements. This is a light gun game that also includes third person exploration, which is pretty unique. People don't really seem to remember this game, but it also doesn't seem to be remembered in reviolation, I suppose. It was designed for the Namco GunCon 2, but they also allowed you to plug in a USB mouse to control the screen. So it would allow you to walk around in first person, or in third person, and when you aimed your weapon, you would go into essentially a light gun game. Sounds kind of cool, honestly, but I definitely never tried it. Do any of you guys have an experience with Dead Aim?
Fortunately not.
Nope. I just know it exists.
Yeah, exactly. I just know it exists and that the guy on the box looks like a total ass. But that's about all I know. So I don't think we're going to spend too much time on Dead Aim. It didn't make many waves, but it's a cool thing that they brought back the GunCon and allowed the USB mouse. I think that this was their shot at doing Survivor right. And from what I can tell, it seems like they did it, but I don't know. Maybe if they remake it and we have access to light guns again, we'll see how it goes. Which, by the way, I've said for years, and I'll just put it on record here, #1 arcade machine I'd like in my home is Time Crisis 2. That sounds so sick.
That's a big one.
Yeah, you'd have to charge an entry fee at that point.
Yeah.
Eh.
Well, speaking of light gun games, we're going to move on to the Wii for our next 2 titles, and we're going to be starting with the Umbrella Chronicles. This came out. What are you laughing? What do you got to say about the Umbrella Chronicles?
Well, I didn't chuckle, but I do have a couple of interesting things to say about the Chronicles games. One of them actually has a pretty deep cut for Resident Evil 4, and I didn't learn this until long after I played it.
Sure. Let me say this first then. Okay, great. I'm glad anyone has something to say. I was nervous. So for Umbrella Chronicles 2007, released for the Wii, it's a light gun game with the system of the Wii. You could obviously use it like a light gun. Very successful use of the thing. I kind of wish I'd played it, but those games are so expensive. This is essentially a retelling of the story through like the first 3 games, I think, and it features Jill, Chris, Rebecca. The game is narrated by Wesker, features branching paths and unlocks for replayability, and it's a light gun game. So if you played House of the Dead, Time Crisis, you know what we're talking about.
Die Hard 2.
Yes, and then we might as well just lump these together. In 2009, they released Darkside Chronicles, which is another Chronicles game. This one stars Leon, and this is an original story that is a prequel to 4. So, Will, as you were.
Well, Darkside Chronicles takes place, I believe it was in South America, in a country I believe is fictional. I can't remember.
Yes, it is. If it's the same one from 4, yes.
Well, as they're traveling through the country, they're investigating a series of disappearances and possible BOW pop-ups. And we find out that a crime lord in South America was actually abducting people from the surrounding area and harvesting their organs to keep the T. Veronica virus in his daughter's body stable. A very gruesome scenario, but this game introduces us to Jack Krauser, a jilted ex-military officer.
Coolest
And
fight
he seems
in
to
the Resident
change-
Evil 4 remake. Super cool.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. That's your ultimate power. I hope you can get a refund. I tell you, man, the second monster arm he popped out caught me way off guard.
I'm sorry
I
to
loved it.
interrupt you about your description of the Chronicles, but you mentioned
Hey, man,
Krauser,
you're
and I
good.
got stoked thinking about that knife fight.
Well, you know what they say about men with big knives, and Leon did not carry a big knife. He didn't need to.
Yeah.
Anyway, as we progress through Chronicles, we get to a couple of interesting scenarios that contribute to Resident Evil 4, one of which, big one, was the mutilation to Jack Krauser's arm, which ended up costing his military career in the original, and that's why he sought the Las Plagas parasite, which allowed him to not only heal his original arm, but grow a new, big, red, gross, clearly not overcompensating one. And then in the remake, he got two. What does that tell you? But
Yeah.
here's the most bizarre thing that comes out of anything relating to any kind of Resident Evil game. Leon and friends go to save the damsel in distress, and they actually succeed. At the end of the game, you go up against this massive final boss, and Manuela, I
Now,
believe
are we
her
talking
name
about
was.
Chronicles?
Yeah.
Okay.
She whips out burning blood, just like Alessa did in Code Veronica, I'm sorry, not Alessa, Alexia, her.
Sorry, I'm writing down Burning Blood for our set list.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm into it.
But so Alexia's in that one too, because I know she was Code Veronica. That doesn't really matter.
No, Alexia was very much dead. However, the crime boss, whose names I don't think I
The
ever
names
learned,
really don't matter. It's okay.
He injected his dying daughter, who I believe had cancer or some condition of some sort, with the T. Veronica virus, but he knew that the virus was unstable, and since he didn't have the equipment to sustain 17 years of cryogenic slumber, he instead abducts innocents and replaces his daughter's infective organs with theirs. And that's what led to the discovery. But Manuela is using the burning blood against the final boss, and apparently if you were able to kill the boss before she used it more than 3 times, then her body doesn't get overtaxed, and she actually does survive, and Leon turns her over to the custody of the federal government. And personally, I have a little headcanon where she met Sherry, and since the two would have been around the same age at the time, I like to think that they'd have become friends.
Well, and at the end of the day, the real Dark Side Chronicles are the friends we made along the way.
You think that they're making like an Avengers team in the background? Because we have like Sherry with her healing, and we have Rose with being
I've mentioned our Final Fantasy X,
fungus.
our Final Fantasy X-2 assembly here. I'm just adding names every time we do this. I got Alyssa on here. I got Sherry on here now. I got Claire, Jill, the whole team. Yeah, we're gonna have a whole Avengers of these. When these games came out, I was working at GameStop, and remember seeing these and thinking they looked really cool. But again, I didn't make enough working at GameStop to be able to buy them. So
Ironic, don't you think?
agreed, big time. I always meant to, and maybe someday my Wii's still functional. That's what a statement. That's so funny. Either way, the system still works, and there are 3 games now that I want for that thing down the road, and that is they're all Capcom. And that is Umbrella Chronicles, Dark Side Chronicles, and I've wanted number 1 on my list for years now. If any listener wants to mail one in, please. That is Tatsunoko versus Capcom. I want that bad. So please keep that in mind. Tony, do you have any history with the Chronicles games?
I don't remember much from them, but I remember hanging out at a friend's house over the weekend, and he had them, and we like played through both of them, but the story didn't stick.
Yeah, of course not. Well, and we mentioned even up top in part 1 that the story of Resident Evil is nonsense. We remember the characters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The characters are the part that keeps you invested, but I will say, as far as the story goes, like the origin of the virus, it's not uninteresting.
Oh, yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
Fun fact, actually,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't recall if we covered this, but the virus actually does originate from an African flower that was found in ancient ruins.
Which I think is mentioned in Resident Evil 5, I would imagine.
Yep, that's actually where they find them.
Oh, great. Hey, look at me knowing my stuff. We almost sound like we know what we're doing here. Crazy. So
Can't have anyone believe in that.
We should move on to our next phase of Resident Evil history. As much fun as that's been, and man, I miss light gun games and the way to do them. Not with a controller, traditional controller. But before we get to Revelations, in Resident Evil 5, they introduce, 4 actually, maybe. I forget which one. They introduce, there's a game mode called Mercenaries that comes out. In one
Mercenaries
of these.
was introduced in 4.
Thank you. Mercenaries comes out in 4, and it's in 5, and it's very popular. People really like it, and it becomes just one of those things that people love to pick up the games for. And they decide, how great would this be to just play Mercenaries on the road? It'd be weird to create and put in the work to create this full narrative and full story for a mobile game when we could just give them Mercenaries. So before we get to Revelations, they put out the Mercenaries 3D on the 3DS. Which I never got my hands on personally, but a lot of people love it. It seems like a very competent game. Just to remind everyone, the game mode of Mercenaries is essentially you are put on a timer in an environment against waves of enemies with different conditions to meet to achieve goals and reach a high score and essentially try to fill all those blank stars and rating slots and everything like that. I think that's a fair assumption, or fair summation. The Mercenaries 3D, do you guys ever get your hands on this thing?
Fortunately, I never got a hold of Mercenaries 3D. I did read about it, and it sounded fun, but I never had a handheld gaming system when I was a kid.
Oh, I had every one of them growing up, every single one.
I liked the ones where you could just sit down, stick your nose in the full immersion, and really get into that 128-bit nonsense in its full, choppy, blocky immersion.
Tony, how about you?
I don't think I ever got to play it on the 3DS, but it does make me wonder why we haven't gotten a console standalone Mercenaries that has characters and levels from all across the series.
Yeah.
That'd be another fun spin-off game.
Okay, then instead of talking about the Mercenaries 3D specifically, Tony, how do you feel about the Mercenaries mode? Do you spend a lot of time with it?
Oh, I love it. It's so much fun.
Me too. It's like my favorite
characters.
thing to do post game.
Yeah. We'll talk more about the Requiem spin-off, but that's what I think
it's
we'll
not
still
as good as
Mercenaries.
It's not as good as
something.
traditional Mercenaries, but we'll get to it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's something new.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, kind of, exactly. Okay, fine.
I do want to give another shout out to the Outbreak games because something you guys just reminded me of was in Outbreak File 2, after you finished some of the scenarios, I think you finish the first 2 and you get Fast Attack or All Attack or something 1, and it put you in just one basic area from either the first or second game. You started no timer, but your objective was find weapons and resources, go across a weirdly amalgamated series of tile sets, all prefixed, not procedurally generated back then. But you had to find the resources you needed and kill every enemy on the map. Usually each section of the map only contained 1 or 2 enemies, but there were about 40 rooms, and once you eliminated every single one of them, including zombified versions of the main cast, you won, and it was the best way to just farm points for the product store. But here's the thing. Thinking about it, I realized that seemed like it was kind of the blueprint for Mercenaries, where you're just in a limited series of areas, and your goal is kill them all.
Yeah. Yeah, well, then let's just move right into Revelations, because I did spend some time with this one. Also initially released for the 3DS in 2012, stars Jill and Chris. It's episodic and action-focused, and introduced raid mode, which is a little closer, I think, to the Leon Must Die Forever mode they just add, but not exactly. But we can get to that in a second. It's pretty much if Mercenaries mode had a story. Did you guys play this one? I definitely still have this one in my 3DS case right now.
I did play it on 3DS. I never did the raid mode.
I never did raid mode either. I never even beat the story, but I remember really enjoying playing it.
I made it to the end. I also didn't finish the story.
I haven't finished Revelations myself yet, but I did play raid mode, and yeah, generally speaking, it was a mode where you grinded for gear, killed your way through the enemies, equipped yourself with perks, kind of like Resident Evil 6. And the strange part was the weapons you collected, they were all of different levels and had preset upgrades. So it was kind of a looter-shooter situation.
Yeah, it was definitely an arcade.
Yeah.
It was like an arcade shooter, but with like a loose narrative tying it all together to get you from point A to point B.
And you were constantly being goaded by the angelically terrifying voice of Miss Colleen Clinkenbeard. And I'm always happy to hear her, even
That's
when
definitely
she's,
a Roger
telling me...
persona from American Dad. That's not a real person.
Well, hey man, look her up. You'll recognize her voice from about 100 places at least, especially if you've watched things like Fairy Tale.
Sorry, what's her name again?
Colleen Clinkenbeard.
Speculative game producer. I'm sorry. All right.
Oh, Roger.
I'll shut up.
Well, I love hearing her voice even when she's telling me there's a thing attached to my wrist that shows that I'm going to turn into a monster. But the more scared I am, the faster it progresses. Hard to be scared when you've got a magnum revolver pointed at everything.
Yeah.
Hey, don't I know it? Boom! All right, sorry. Couldn't resist.
Also, for my experience with Revelations, I was recently replaying it. I kind of fell off on it, but it feels like a budget Resident Evil game because it was like a handheld game. There's a lot of fun in it though, and I enjoyed scanning the monsters and monster bits.
If you play it on console, it feels like they just shot it out there. But if you play it on the 3DS, especially at the time it came out, which this is 14 years ago now, it felt amazing. It's a really solid game, especially for a handheld console.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was neat. It was a fun little side story.
Yeah.
It gives you an idea on what's going on with Jill.
They're neat.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the one I did not spend much time with because I do not appreciate the way its episodic format was released and is still released is Revelations 2, which came out in 2015. And this is our first entry so far on my list that became available on the Switch, as well as the Vita, which, man, I loved my Vita. I played the heck out of my Vita. Nobody else did, but I did. And that stars Claire, Barry, and Moira. Anyone here having a relationship with Revelations 2?
Well, George, first of all, please edit out the comments about the Overseer's voice acting in Revelations 2, because, pardon my ignorance, apparently that was Miss Lucy Todd voicing that, and I hate to give credit where it's not due.
Oh, but I made such a funny Roger joke, dude. I gotta keep it in. Yeah, I'm keeping it, and then we're just gonna keep in your correction. Yeah. Yeah.
One that could be in the comment. That's comment bait.
Yeah. Oh, it's comment bait. Yeah, we're just gonna move on. We'll move on. Any of you guys play Revelations 2?
Well, I call myself an idiot often enough. I welcome the opportunity for others to do so. But as for Revelations 2, yeah, I played it a lot more than I played Revelations 1. I kind of just fell off with that one, unfortunately. But yeah, no.
Well, yeah,
2,
it's
the raid mode.
Revelations 2 was like built with consoles in mind. Revelations 1 was not.
Well, the unfortunate thing that Revelations 2 had was the second character you played as being either Moira or what was the little girl's name?
I want to say Buckknife Joe. I have no idea, dude.
Well, unfortunately, the second character for the player 2 was just all support. I mean, Moira couldn't even use a gun due to some kind of trauma. But it was very much a fun game.
That's right. I remember one of them couldn't even fire. I remember that. That's right. I played the demo, and I was like, okay, well, I definitely want to play the character who can shoot a gun. I know that.
That was the unfortunate thing about the gameplay in general. If you wanted the full combat experience with a friend, then you definitely had to play the raid mode. Otherwise, I don't know.
No, that makes sense.
Just enjoy chilling and watching things die.
Yeah.
I played the first episode when it released. I was really hyped, and then the episodic release, I was busy with college, and I just never got back to playing it.
Yeah. I only did the demo myself. All right, I think we've covered Revelations just fine. We're about to get into the final stretch here. We're going to talk about the remakes, and then we're going to end on Requiem. You guys ready for that? Let's do it.
Heck yeah.
Well, George, there is a couple of other absolute blemishes that we've got to discuss.
Oh, actually, you know what? I missed one, and it is one of the blemishes, Operation Raccoon City.
because we all try to ignore it.
Yep.
Even in our own list.
Even in my
Well,
own
to be
list
fair-
here. Well, we were on a track with Mercenaries 3D, and I figured we'd do Revelations first. But okay, let's talk about it. Operation Raccoon City came out with a big wet thud on the PC, PS3, 360 in 2012. You play in Umbrella security members. It looks kind of Outbreak-esque. You're infected. It's 4 players. You're figuring stuff out, but it's sort of like rewriting the history of the thing. If any of you guys have a history of Operation Raccoon City, go ahead and talk about it.
I've just seen it played by that same speedrunner.
Yeah, I had a feeling the floor would be mine on this one. I actually played Operation Raccoon City quite extensively because as bad as it was, like sloppy, I guess, it wasn't completely unplayably awful, and it did have a couple of interesting little snippets. For one, you are playing as Umbrella Security Service agents who are mercenaries hired by the Umbrella Corporation, and their initial mission is to go down to the lower levels, and they're meant to assist Hunk, the human unit never killed, with getting a hold of the virus, which was a mission that took place in 2. Now, obviously, this was retconned in the remakes, and it's not even considered canon, of course, but you get to play as a series of agents with a bunch of interesting elements to them, including
I want to
my
spoil
personal
things for
favorite.
you so bad, Will. So bad.
Well, there's one agent that I played as most. She had viral vision, which allowed her to see the weak spots of enemies, identify infected at a glance, and to carry additional resources to prevent viral infection and contamination. There was the medic who could carry additional healing items, and several others, including someone who was basically... His name was Vector, and he was trained by Hunk, and he was able to disappear pretty much at a glance. But probably the most interesting thing in the game was at the end, in the rail yards, after Claire and Leon and Sherry all escaped. They're caught by this mercenary group, but there's a problem. Umbrella's already betrayed them once, and they only call them again after the moronic executives realize their screw-up. They tell the agents, we'll extract you if you get these guys first, and then the mercenaries end up arguing over this to the point where 2 of them end up dead in the 4-man team.
All been there.
When the fiasco ends, the surviving agents inform Umbrella that they want double their contract or the contract's canceled. Being the morons that they are, and the entitled jackasses, tell them to get screwed, and so they screw Umbrella. They decide they're going to go on a mission of revenge, and Claire, Leon, and Sherry all get to leave the city on their own. Of course, there's a second ending where they decide to stay loyal, but loyalty to Umbrella is toxic. We all know that.
Yep.
Yep.
It'll get you.
There was something you mentioned at the end of Outbreak 2 that I wanted to say is one of my favorite tropes of Resident Evil, is that a lot of these games end in an underground lab, but they always look fantastic. It's like always one of the most exciting changes in the 2 remake, especially.
There's always a lab.
There's always a lab, and it's always like this big, like you walk into a room and you're like, like this is different now, but it's like all like clean and then meshes with the horror, like so good every time. I love it.
I don't think there's a lab in Village, is there? Like a legit
You know,
lab?
I don't think so. No, I think Village is
it was
pretty
a sheepdog.
straightforward. I'm not even sure there's a lab in 7. I'm not saying it's every time, but it's one of my favorite.
No, there is. Yeah, you definitely do on 7.
Oh,
like,
you do? Okay.
I don't know about labs, but I do remember that there were a lot.
Maybe not.
I think there were Dobermans in Res 2.
Dobermans?
Dobermans.
Oh, Dobermans.
Oh, Doberman. Yeah.
It's like Dorman?
There was only one lab though.
Like there's a couple.
Is a joke landing at all?
couple zombies dressed as
Yeah.
Dorman.
Yeah.
But, so, all right. So, any other fond memories or thoughts on Operation Raccoon City? Because I feel like we can get past that because we're about to get into some really good stuff here.
Well, there was a DLC right around the time the whole extra post-launch content thing started to get traction.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like this combination MOBA survival and team deathmatch mode where you played as several heroes from the previous games.
And I'm
I
sure
feel
it was
that
wildly
basically
popular.
Yeah. I feel like it was just a desperate gasp to try and get some fire back into the game because Leon, Claire, Barry, and Rebecca, I believe, were the hero team, as well as Krauser, Hunk, and a couple of others from the antagonistic team, and I didn't even recognize at least 2 of them. Maybe any of them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, unless it's Wesker, I probably wouldn't recognize him, or like straight up Tyrant or Nemesis, I probably wouldn't either. Well, let's get back into some good stuff here. We're gonna move into the remakes and then get into Requiem. So let's start. Well, I mean, we did the one remake, but that came out so long ago. So let's get into the current phase of things with the Resident Evil 2 remake releasing initially on the PS4, Xbox One in 2019. What a banger of a game. It might be my favorite Resident Evil. I don't know about you guys.
Well, Resident Evil 2 original was definitely my favorite back in the day, but the remake, I just have to say that when I went into this, I was thinking, this looks great, but is it gonna be what it should be? And by the end of the game, I'm pretty sure I had to change my pants afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely the lickers in it are like just as terrifying as I remember the very pixelated ones on the PS1 being.
Yeah,
Tony, what were your expectations for the 2 remake, and then how did it pay off for you?
Oh man, I always try to suspend my expectations as much as I can.
That's a
like
good way to
obviously
do it.
they're really high because the original RE2 is the one that got me into the series, and I loved it. I played it a bunch as a kid, so I went in and I had a great fucking time. I did fall off around release. I bought it, was playing a ton, and then Kingdom Hearts 4 came in, and being
There's
a busy
only so
college
much you
kid, I
can
was
do.
like, I can only focus on one game at a time. And when I was in school,
There's only so
and
much.
then it took me a long time to finally get around to it, but I jumped back in heavy on survival horror games with catching up on Resident Evil, playing 7, RE2 remake, Village, and the RE2 remake is just beautiful. And
Yeah.
I have a clip on my Twitch stream that still fucking cracks me up, where I was talking about the experiences and stuff, and like in the gas station at the very beginning, and I was making a comment about the beer price. I'm like, that seems high for the 90s. And then Leon does one of his little idle quips of like, I'll be back for you. And I'm like standing right in front of the beer. I'm like, this man knows his priorities. Good on him.
right.
Hey, if I had the day Leon had in RE2, I'd want a beer. God.
Right? Fuck. But yeah, no, the 2 remake lived up to my hopes. I still need to go do the get the true ending on it, but
I haven't
had
even
a
beaten
great time.
Claire's story personally. I did Leon's and part of Claire's, and I never went back. But I mean, I still played the game, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, same.
Well, you
That's why
don't get the exact epilogue until you've beaten a B story, and I'm pretty sure you can get it as either one of them. You just have to finish
Yeah.
the game first as Claire. And then
Yeah,
Leon,
you
or
have to do
vice versa.
A, B. It's not like the original where each character had a dramatic, like there's the A and B isn't as different. It's just like you do the A as one character, B as the other.
Right.
And it was really interesting finding traces of what the other character had done in the B scenario.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Oh, and fun fact, I did appreciate that they added a little snippet to answer why the hell the Raccoon City police station was designed like a freaking puzzle house, and it turned out that it was actually built from a repurposed museum.
Mhm.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool fact. That makes sense.
Yeah, it made way more sense than it should have.
Yeah, I
liked
remember I got it on a Black Friday sale for like $5 at Target, and at this point I just kind of fallen off of survival horror games and stuff. I was doing other things with my life. And I mean, if it's just there and it's Resident Evil 2 and it's $5, it's PS4, I hadn't read anything about it. I hadn't even thought about Resident Evil in a hot minute. It had been a few years since I beat 7, but I hadn't thought about like traditional third-person Resident Evil. And I get it home and I put it in, and man, like 10 minutes in, I'm just like, damn. Like, this is what it is now? And I just thought about, like, me at 8 years old at that gaming cafe playing it on the Nintendo 64. If I could see me now, you know? So just great work on that one. There's not much else we can say in that regard. One we'll probably have a little less to say about, but still a perfectly competent game, is the Resident Evil 3 remake, released in 2020. A great year for humanity. On the PS4 and 5, Xbox S and X, the PC, Apple, and Switch. It was on everything. This is, of course, a remake of Resident Evil 3. It's just not the same. It's a little more, in my opinion, pretty linear. not that difficult, not that scary. Nemesis doesn't really, to me, seem to pose a threat. It still looks incredible. The action is tight, the controls are tight, the setting is gorgeous, the performances, the soundtrack, the lighting, everything's great. It's pretty short, and it feels a little on rails. Guys, any thoughts on the Resident Evil 3 remake?
I can't terribly disagree with you on the linear element, but I will say that as far as the Nemesis factor goes, it seems like this is sort of a subgenre of the Resident Evil games, and it's kind of what they were going for with the Jake and Sherry scenario in 6, where the main element is you're being chased, and you have to either hide, escape, or slow it down somehow. And I am going to say that as far as the scare factor goes, you can't really blame Resident Evil 3 itself proper for a lack of fear, because when you're Jill Valentine, the only thing that's scary is Chris Redfield on a lonely night.
Well, I think in 3 original and 3 proper, I think that the terror of his invincibility comes off pretty good. But maybe it's just because the controls are better these days in the 3 remake, so you can easily skirt and dodge and get around them, and when you had tank controls, it seemed a lot more desperate. I don't know. Maybe that's part of it.
Again, Jill Valentine. When you're Jill Valentine, you're not scared of anything.
Yeah. Oh, I hope they bring her back soon. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. RE3 remake, when I did my big catch up, I did play the 3 remake, and I don't care as much about the cut content as some people do. I don't think that really mattered. I think it streamlined the game a little. It was just the mechanics didn't feel as like ironed out as like the 2 remake, or subsequent the 4 remake, which we'll get to.
Yeah, we will.
It just it felt a little shallow. I do think that 3 remake has one of the best like replayabilities of the mainline games, because it is such a tight experience now that it's quick to go through.
I've actually restarted it a few times. I haven't quite hit credits, and then I take a long break. But every time I restart it, it feels great, and I don't feel like I'm retreading anything. And I love seeing it play out, and I really enjoy playing it.
I think the dodge mechanic sucks in the 3 remake.
I suck at dodging in the 3 remake for sure.
I'm pretty good at dodging in games, but the 3 remake, the fucking like hitboxes and stuff are annoying.
Dude,
like,
I can play Sekiro like a champ, but I can't dodge in Resident Evil 3.
Yeah. The range that the attacks have to catch you are not well aligned with the character models, and I think that was one of my biggest gripes with it.
That makes sense.
But I had an overall good time with the game.
I will say that I had the feeling that when they released the 3 remake so soon after the 2 remake, they felt like they struck gold, the perfect way to execute a remake. And then when they went with 3, they tested a couple of ideas that they liked but wanted to see what the fans would think. The dodge mechanic, for instance. And then they ironed out a couple of bugs to prepare for the 4 remake, because I'm pretty sure that when they were doing remakes, the first 3 were kind of just a way to test the waters and brace themselves for the backlash over the 4 remake, because you gotta consider, this was their magnum opus. It was their crescendo. Resident Evil 4 redefined third-person shooter genre, and remaking something like that on modern hardware to try and make it just as good,
should we just
blasphemously better,
yeah.
then that had to be an intimidating task.
Right. And so, all right, I think we're all pretty much in concordance here on the Resident Evil 3 remake. And since you brought it up, why don't we just get to it? Because if you had any doubt about their ability to make beefy, compelling action games that captured the spirit of the original, those can be thrown to the wayside when you pick up the Resident Evil 4 remake, because, oh my God, in my opinion, I'll be saying this for years, I think it is one of the greatest action games ever made. It is such a solid product. Yeah, Tony, hit us first. Resident Evil 4 remake.
Oh man, I didn't know what to expect. Like, I have a lot of love for the original Resident Evil 4 just from playing with friends. It's as we talked about during that episode, it's a mixed love, because it was the start of a departure from the survival horror elements, like leaning heavy in the action. So, but going into a remake, you know what it is, kind of.
Yeah, you know that it's the action Resident Evil. And you're probably going
Yeah,
to be able to move and shoot at the same time. That's about all
those feelings are kind of those feelings are kind of removed, and it just felt like I was like blotting back into my childhood, similar to like the Final Fantasy VII remake like vibes have given me. It's just like, oh my god, my childhood nostalgia. And it fed me well. I had a great time with it. As soon as I unlocked Mercenaries, I spent a ton of hours just I
Mercenaries in the 4 remake, just amazing.
Yeah, I posted I bought the game, and then literally that same day, I posted like the max rank with my second run on Ada, and I was like, I think my skills are still there.
That is such a long campaign too. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's it's a fun remake. I really like the new mechanics added. The familiarity of the game, but the new experiences as well.
Besides the updated controls, obviously, like I said, being able to move and shoot is a big deal now. Things like that, and obviously the updated look and all that. But what kind of new mechanics did they bring to it that come to top of mind?
Oh yeah, the parry. Aren't the charms new, or were the charms in the original? I don't remember.
The charms were originally bottle cap collectibles that made one-note sound samples, and collecting all of them gave you a big cash injection each of the weapon ranges.
Oh.
But this time, they add buffs like a chance to gain additional ammo when crafting. Ammunition crafting was definitely a new deal.
Yeah,
good point.
They added buffs to things like melee attacks, counterattacks, and the potency of healing items.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just, it's just like, if you like action, and if you like playing video games, every aspect of it is a selling point, and it's all banging on every cylinder. Yep. It's just like, if you feel like having a good time, play the Resident Evil 4 remake.
Hand somebody a piece of paper that says, "Do you like fun? Check yes or no."
Yeah, exactly.
And then hand them the Resident Evil 4 remake for sure.
Damn right.
Exactly.
Oh, George. Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you twice during your intro, but I had to say something. Instead of Cast by the Wayside, any doubts you have about their ability to make a beefy, badass remake, go ahead and suplex them right now.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
This game is gonna suplex
and I
them,
love
too.
that they turned, like, Leon into a pro wrestler in these games. It's so funny, but he's so good at it.
Hey, when you're in close quarters combat training with Krauser, whose shoulders are the size of bowling balls,
dude,
and Joy's throwing you around, you learn.
I can't tell you who it is, Will, but there's an awesome close quarters fight in Requiem with Leon that you're really going to appreciate. That's very reminiscent of the Krauser fight, and it's a really good time.
Awesome. Well, when I first found out that Leon was in Requiem, first of all, I lost my shit when I realized he showed up. And apparently, he just goes full Judge Dredd on everybody. He walks in the room, says he's sick of this bullshit. Gotta get home to dinner. Who dies first? Just
pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he just curb stomps everybody on the way.
Sometimes
through,
literally.
Dude, I believe it. Like, you're literally stomping heads in a couple of those games.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, he's got a hatchet now and a huge gun called the Requiem.
Yeah.
Like, he's not messing around.
Big ass Magnum revolver called the Requiem. Well, the man keeps walking into absolute tornadoes of bullshit. And for 10 years, the government just said, okay, here's a dinky ass little 9mm and a can of boo-boo juice. Have a good time. Then he immediately loads the gun, points it at the quartermaster, and says, give me a real gun. Now.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir. Here's your gun, sir. Sorry, sir.
Well, I think we've talked about our love of the RE4 remake, so let's just talk about it. Resident Evil 9. Woo! We made it! Directed by Koshi Nakanishi and produced by Masato Kumazawa. Released 2026 on the PS5, Xbox X and S, the Switch 2, and the PC. Can't believe it's on Switch. That seems nuts to me. Stars Grace and Leon, and Grace is the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft. She is Grace Ashcroft of the FBI. I can't tell you much more about the story than that, but I can say that the game is intended to be, you can change this if you'd like, intended to be in a mix of first person and third person, where when you're Grace, you're in first person and you focus more heavily on exploration and classic Resident Evil puzzle solving and survival horror and resource management gameplay. But when you play as Leon, you're in third person and you are the Punisher, and you are a murder machine. And you just kick all the ass, and it's just a big action game. And not only is it just like you took the gameplay from Grace and put it in third person, it's like when you're Leon, you're playing like this sequel to Resident Evil 4. It's awesome. And it has chainsaw fights and big explosions and giant monsters and just moving platforms that end in gore baths. It's got it all. So definitely recommend Requiem. Tony, since you've also been experienced with this, just tell me about the expectations, experience. Talk to me about Requiem.
I don't want to go into spoilers, but I had some expectations. I tried to avoid too much that was announced, so that it was still like there's
all of it.
a lot
I went in almost totally blind.
Yeah, I went mostly blind. There was definitely some stuff that I caught, and like going back to Raccoon City was very prevalent in all the updates, and I thought that was going to be a bigger part.
The name is Requiem. Returning to everything is kind of a big part of it.
For sure. I thought that was going to be a bigger section of the game.
The game is not as long as it could be.
Yeah, and I know that they've talked a little bit in interviews about some cut content, and that's fine. That happens with every game development. You know, you have a storyboard, you cut things to make it work. I really liked it. I think Grace is a great new character.
Her performance is astonishing. She does so good in this game.
I honestly found myself kind of preferring her sections to the Leon stuff. The Leon stuff was fun, but it was just like...
It's a mood. It depends on what you want. They're two different games.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about the jump back and forth between action and horror, like the survival. It was good. It was great. I still enjoyed it. Yeah, I do
fair.
love
I think
it.
that's a totally fair note. I don't think it's for everybody, but I think that both aspects were very solid, and maybe they didn't marriage perfectly, but I found that Grace sections to be so terrifying that I needed the catharsis of the Leon section, especially like when you're in the care center, for example, early on, and you have to sneak past these like women that like are singing opera, and they're so terrifying. And you're just like crawling by, and you escape this like big butcher dude, and you just like you get to safety, and then like when you finally get some respite, you play as Leon, and you walk in and you just fucking blow those opera singers' heads off. It's so cathartic.
Yeah, I think my veteran status with the RE and survival horror games, it definitely impacted it too, because I didn't really avoid much with Grace. I'd killed all the big enemies, like the singers, the big dude.
I avoided like everything. Butcher. I think I only killed the doctor to get through that room, and maybe like one other zombie I had to get past. But dude, I was so scared that game. Everything felt so scary to me when I was Grace.
Yeah, Leon didn't have much to do in his sections for me.
That's super funny. Leon had to clean up the whole house when I played him.
Yeah.
Leon kicks the door in. Housekeeping.
But that's also a good point, is that if you do take care of business as Grace, Leon has less to do. The continuity is there between scenes, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I am going to point out that it sounds kind of like they're also testing the more popular elements, and they might ask the fan base, what do you like more, the action Resident Evil or the horror Resident Evil? Because it sounds like it's a hybrid Resident Evil 7 and 4. And
yeah. Oh, it is. I think that's a very fair point.
That's exactly where
exactly
it is.
What
and
it is.
Like, I like both. It's for me, it's a sweet, two cakes kind of thing. I think after I finished, like, what was resting with my feelings, I was just like, I think I like when it's focused on one or the other for the whole experience, because it does feel a little jarring at times, because I don't think
jarring's unfair.
Action section.
Yeah,
and it just felt, because it's a light spoiler, but you don't really get to do the Leon stuff until you get to Raccoon City. And then I was like,
you do some, but then it ends. Like right when you start to become full Leon, it's over.
Yeah, and I think that's part of my feelings around it too, is like I wanted to be able to do that stuff throughout the whole sections with Leon, and it just I felt like I wasn't fed enough of the action to feel like it was fully warranted. But all the callbacks, the little Easter eggs you can find, like of the food person variant.
Let's talk about the future of Requiem. They just added a new game mode at the time of this recording called Leon Must Die Forever. And it's an interesting little addition. It's a roguelike, action-focused on Leon, where you move through the areas of the story. I mean, you always start on the streets, and you collect weapons and upgrades that are randomized and with chances of rarity and enemies that are rare and have different ways that you deal with them involving melee or parrying or whatever. So it's a more arcadey experience. And then you can take multiple routes towards more difficult areas with better loot until you beat the boss at the end, which is, yeah.
I have given it a couple runs, and I haven't played Ethan Must Die. But I've heard that it's similar, like ish.
Oh, I did not.
Quite,
I never played that either, actually.
Yeah, that was the bonus mode on 7, and I never got around to trying it out.
Oh,
but I
what
know
a
that
fun
this is
callback!
kind of
No
like
wonder
the
they
build
added
off
the
of that.
forever. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so but it does feel mercenary-esque, but roguelike, and like I'm not surprised, like when you think about the difference in the character play styles between Grace and him, that it wasn't mercenaries. Like, granted, they could make Grace do more in Mercenaries. People were speculating on how they were going to do that, so we'll see if we get a Mercenaries later, because it does say extra games.
Yeah, it says it with a plural. That's a note I have here, is that I'm looking forward to the other game modes we're going to get, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're free, but I bet one of them is going to be first-person based, or, maybe more horror-based, but that might not be as interesting, but I'm looking forward to that as well. But I think if they did Mercenaries, they could just do straight-up Mercenaries, and we could be playing as Ada, Alyssa, Grace, the FBI boss guy. I don't know.
Yep, exactly.
Just give us a whole Mortal Kombat-esque roster of characters to go through.
Exactly, and just utilize the combat from Requiem, which is really fun. So I would really enjoy that. Well,
and I don't know about you. Did you, before you got into the game, really, when you were getting your green herbs, were you looking around for red herbs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember hitting a point where I'm like, it's all just green, man.
Yeah, they don't have red herbs in it.
Fix.
Instead of like red herbs, you
it's just double and
mix
triple
3.
greens. Yeah. Gosh, guys, as much as it makes me sad to say, I think we've hit the end of our Resident Evil. Golly gee.
Yep.
Well, I do want to give another shout out to Capcom here and just Pragmata, the RE engine, Street Fighter 6. Capcom just killing it right now. But what's important here at the end of the day is Resident Evil. And man, I don't know the last time I've had so much fun prepping for an assignment in my life than these last 3 parts with you guys. Thank you for joining me on this.
Absolutely.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for inviting me. Like, you actually gave me my online presence confidence again.
Okay, well, let's do it, guys. Tony, where can people find you? What are you about?
You can find me here on the Halloween Horror Podcast, as well as whenever I come back to content creation. McPatches3D is my handle, and I am active on Blue Sky and other spaces when I get around to them. So, yeah.
Excellent. And Will, tell us about yourself.
Well, not much to tell. Nah, cut the jokes. You can find me on YouTube at Alaskan Ghost, and I have a bit of a presence on X. Not really much of one on Facebook, but I do have an account. And my streaming hiatus has officially ended. I actually just finished my Silent Hill 2 playthrough, and spoiler alert, I got the bad ending. So I'm doing another playthrough out of spite, and I'll be uploading an episode fairly soon where I get the preferred ending, along with something of a compilation, probably, of different endings you can get in New Game Plus. But very soon here, probably in the next day or two, maybe even tonight, I'll be playing a very odd little game called Oh Thank Goodness You're Here.
I've seen the poster for that one. That's funny.
Yeah, I played the demo at PAX.
Oh, nice.
I got an hour into it, and
brag.
Dude, it's wow. It's just so weird. You can't even really describe it.
Well, my name is George Brandenburg. You can find me here on the podcast. I play Discount Dracula on the Halloween Horror Hour TV show, of which this podcast, is an extension of. You can see it on Tubi, Plex, and the Roku channel. And, of course, you can catch every episode on YouTube. Guys, thanks again, and thank you all for listening so much through this series on Resident Evil. So happy we got to talk about this, and we did it. We did the whole damn mile.
Hell yeah.
It's been a genuine pleasure, George. Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Tony, pleasure working with you.
Yeah, you as well.